Eleazar of Damascus. And Abraham said, listen, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and to lo, one born in my house is my heir. In other words, maybe you're talking about Eleazar. Maybe he's my heir. Listen, and behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be thy heir, not Eleazar, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thy heir. And God said, let me help you. Verse 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look down towards the heaven and tell. That word tell is count the stars, if thou shalt be able to number them. And he said, so shall thy seed be. God said, Abraham, you seeing yourself childless. Only way I can birth a child, I got to help your imagination. He says, Abraham, come out here. Abraham, come out there. God said, look to the sky and say, start counting the stars. Abraham, 1, 2, 3. Abraham got to a point, he said, I can't count them no more. God said, that's where your seed going to be. Good. I got you seeing multitudes again. Now, because you're seeing the right picture now. As long as you seeing yourself childless, I can't do nothing. God said, I got to find something that's in great in number where I can lift your sight up. He said, Abraham, count the stars, because I know there's too many of them for you to see. And then now you'll get the little out of your mind and get the multitude back in your mind. Abraham, he made Abraham count the stars to change his imagination from childless to seeing a whole lot of people. Let's close Genesis 30. Let's close there. Genesis 30. Look at what he says. Let's close here. Look at verse 34 for the sake of time. This man was smart. Listen, Abraham, listen, your kids learn from you, don't they? They'll learn stuff from you. They'll imitate your faith or your fear. Listen, Genesis chapter 30. Laban thought he was playing trick with Jacob. Laban forgot who Jacob's daddy was. Isaac knew Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Isaac was imitating Abraham, and listen, Jacob said, I'm going to act like my daddy too. They know how to birth stuff. I've seen them through the years learn how to make it work. So look at, so Laban like, I'm going to take these cows away from Jacob. Jacob said, that's all right, I know how to get some more. Look at verse 34. Look what it says. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. Verse 35. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown amongst sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. He took them all away, all the speckled and spotted. Laban said, I'm taking them away. And he sent 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Verse 37. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree. Listen what he did. And listen, he peeled white streaks in them and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring-straight, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straight, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put not them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, men servants, cattle, and asses. Jacob said, man, I know how to get this thing. He says, listen, Laban, you want to take out all of the ring straight? You want to take out all the speckled and spotted calves? He said, that's fine. My dad is Isaac. I know what Abraham taught, my granddaddy taught him. He said, listen, he said, I know how to get me some more ring straight and speckled. He said, that's the trough, water trough. The cows come there and drink every day. He says, I'll take me some poplar, I'll peel some streaks into the tree bark. Peel where you see the white part inside of the tree bark. He says, I'm going to set it right in front of the water trough where the cows come and drink every day for water. And every day they come and drink. While they drinking, they see them peel streaks in that tree in that tree bark. And when they gave birth, he says, he said the weak ones, I'm not even going to let them look at the straight stuff, because I don't want the weak ones to produce. I'll just give them to Laban. All the strong ones, I'm going to make them look at that picture of their streaks in their gutter. And when the cow, every day, he came to drink water, he looked at them peeled streaks in that tree. And the Bible said when they gave birth to speckled and spotted cows. If that thing will work for an animal, don't tell me it won't work for a person. That thing will work for an animal. You know it'll work for me and you. Jacob said, I know how to get them. I'll make the cow see every day what I want. And when that cow gave birth, he said he gave birth to speckled and spotted cows. But the weaker ones, he said, I put them aside and gave them to Laban because I didn't even want the weak ones to produce. And the Bible said he had exceeding great. He had many cattle and asses and maidservants. In other words, listen, look what it said. Jacob said, Jacob said, I know how to get men servant. Look what it says. I know how to get men servant, maid servant. Genesis, look what it says. Genesis 30. Look what he says. Look at the verse. Verse 30, look at verse 43. The man increased exceedingly. He had much cattle, maid servants, men servants, camels, and asses. How did he get all that? He knew how to work the imagination of stuff. He knew how, look, he said, I see myself with a lot of men servants, maid servants, camels, and asses. He started seeing that. He kept that thing there, and he kept doing everything they needed to do, and he kept what? Reproducing. And all of a sudden, he had men servants, maid servants, camels, asses. He was increasing exceedingly. Why? He knew how to work his imagination to get what he wanted. But if it'll work for an animal, why won't it work for you and I? If it worked for cows, camel, he said he had camels, didn't he? Asses. He had cows, camels, asses, men servant, men. It didn't just work for the cows. Why? How he get exceeding great with camels and asses and all that? He did the same thing. He was multiplying everything. He was increasing everything around him, Ebony. He was increasing everything around him by using this principle of the imagination. It's real stuff. Jacob said, you can play games with me. You think you're stealing from taking. He said, Laban, you think you're taking away from me. Trust me. He said, I know how to recreate. I know how to create what I want. I'm going to work the principle, and I'm going to get it right back. You took it, I'm going to get it right back. So if the devil stole some stuff from you or took some stuff from you that you know God, listen, or you know God that said stuff to you and promised you stuff, begin to use the creative power of your imagination and begin to form this thing inside of you and begin to write it down, begin to confess it, speak it, and hold on to it. Because listen, and that thing will eventually begin to come into a manifestation, and that thing will begin to birth itself in your life, and you'll just keep creating your world. You'll be birthing realities. All of a sudden, you'll get exceeding. That's why, same thing. That's why we speak the word, confess the word. People say, why are you saying people are standing in line to get in this church and so forth when all these seats empty? Because we see the place full. That's right. People are standing in line to get in this church because we see it. We got to first see it before we get it. We work in our imagination. That's why we're saying that. We're not just saying that to be just saying it. We're saying it because